Welcome to the Great Lakes Smoke Podcast Show. What we talk about basically is the love and the passion of cigars, pipe smoking, tobacco, alcohol, brothers chilling out and having a good time, laughter.
Well, how else are you gonna, enjoy a nice bourbon?
And you kind of went animalistic on tobacco buying, haven't you?
And the Rocky Patel Pure and Simple. I don't know, that thing just tastes so good.
Aficionados, and welcome to another Great Lakes Podcast Show. We are so excited to have a special guest tonight, and I know
we got two special guests.
We will have two special guests. Yes, we will. We have one right now that you can see, and another will be joining us shortly. But tonight's show is going to be very informative for everybody who is into tobacco, cigars, pipe tobacco, just the industry in itself. They are going to let us know what is happening in Washington, Big Brother.
We're getting it from the insiders now.
Yep. And these two gentlemen are fighting for us, for our rights to smoke a cigar, to puff on a pipe. Enough is enough. It's time that we fight back, and people need to listen. We cannot be quiet, folks. We need to go to our local representatives and call them and tell them what's going on. And we're going to learn tonight on how and what is going on in general. Because we're only getting bits and pieces, or only what they want us to know. But these gentlemen tonight are going to give us a deeper look. Welcome again, folks. Great Lakes Pop Show. My name is Ron Pecorini. This is my brother Bob Pecorini.
How you doing, folks?
We got the man behind the curtain, but tonight he's on the lake.
The lake.
That is a real live show back there. That is water.
Can you prove it? Can you splash some water so people really think you're there?
I could go up there and swim, but I mean, I would get my clothes all wet.
Jump in.
And the big thing with Kyle tonight, basically, is he can actually have a cigar on the outside.
Yep.
So
that proves he's out there. No, we always knew he was out there, but
yeah, tonight he's really out there, definitely. And down in Florida, the one, the only, we call him Cousin Frank, hanging out in Florida, and he also will be joining us with his special section called Stump the Chooch. And that is where we will be giving away a free pipe. Tonight's donation will be by Tim Garrity of the Chicago Pipe Club. And we'll talk further because he did bring us some more things. So
there's a whole bunch of
yes, and we'll talk about what that all will be. And there's a lot going on with that. We've talked about it.
Let's introduce our other guest, who's also from Florida.
Yes, from Miami himself. The one, the only Dr. Gaby Kafie of Kafie 901. How you doing, my friend? How are you?
I'll tell you what, man. There's a lot to talk about, and you guys are. You got your finger on the pulse. The clock is ticking. We got to get to the meat and potatoes of what's going on. Otherwise, this shit's just gonna come by like a Cat 5 hurricane storm, and then we'll be sitting around come November trying to figure out what the damages are.
And then it'll be too late by then.
Yes, sir. So
definitely.
I commend you guys. My hat's off to you for having the courage.
I thought you meant the cojones. We got the cojones. Don't worry about it. We're out there in the fight.
Congrats on having the courage to talk about it. Because unless we talk about it, get it out in the open, we can't assume anything. Look, about 3 years ago, I quit assuming anything. Yeah. And I took charge of my own campaign to protect the family business that I've busted my ass to build. Because I don't see anybody else calling me up and saying, "Hey, man, I want to save your business."
No, definitely not. Unfortunately, it's you and only you.
That is correct.
and not just you, but every other cigar owner is in the fight, and you're in the mix. You're getting people that are asking what's going on. So that's the only thing. You are actually fighting for hundreds and hundreds of companies out there in the boutique.
Yes, sir.
It's not like you have the big boys with all their big lawyers and their people in Washington to
Right.
for all of that.
You're fighting for thousands of people because it all trickles down to right down to the consumer.
That is
But
correct.
not only
Yes,
the
sir.
consumer. You're fighting for basically I'm saying
Our
you're
rights.
fighting for
Our
Central
rights.
American people also, because
yeah.
without the Central America countries like Nicaragua, Honduras, I mean, we're talking about the workers there. So what's affecting here in America
Right.
is affecting the other people with their jobs.
Their economy,
And
their employment,
This is
everything.
big. This is not just
And
here.
you know how many families depend on this? This is no joke.
You have factories down in Honduras doing for you, your
Yeah.
company, Kafie
Yeah.
1901. I know that COVID has really hurt a lot of these people. And from what I'm hearing, a lot of the major companies and yourself
Right.
stepped up to help and take care of the finances for these people, which is fantastic.
That's a I love it's a really tough thing. I don't usually talk about what we do or what our team, our partners in Honduras do.
But your ego, don't let your ego get in the way. Don't
Yeah.
be so modest, will you? You're doing an unbelievable job. You're fantastic for what you're doing.
I don't want credit for that. I want everyone to know that it's painful, but we're all in this together, and we're gonna ride this out. And it's gonna take a while. I think it's gonna take about 18 to 24 months.
Wow.
And yeah, it's not gonna be. I really think this bitch is gonna drag out. I'm so sorry to use that word, but this pandemic, the medicine that I'm reading up on, there's a second wave going on now. It's happening a lot sooner than they expected. Honduras is a disaster. A lot of people don't want to talk about how I was talking to some colleagues telling them Honduras is a disaster, and they're like, oh, well, Nicaragua's worse. And I'm like, okay. And a lot of people
Not a
don't want to
competition.
Yeah,
but
right.
but the thing is that a lot of people want to keep it hush hush, and the fact is that our entire industry has been affected by the pandemic. Our factories operating at 1/3 the capacity, and we've sent home literally about 65 workers, but we're not able to pay them full salary. We're able to supplement their income so that, because they're not going out, they're not, they're at home, they need food, they need medicine, they need the basics. So we're gonna ride this thing out, and we're rotating staff. So it's not like we've only got 1/3 the staff, because the substantial, what do you call it, the social distancing guidelines forced us to cut our staff down to 30%. So our production is down to 30%. If you saw Cigar Aficionado's publication yesterday, the numbers are significant. They're down 10% already.
Wow.
From this year to last year. So this thing is serious, man. We're about to, it's so serious that if we don't talk about it, the FDA is going to keep putting pressure on us. They need to understand that we're already crippled. This pandemic has crippled the premium cigar industry. But we've got a problem in the premium cigar industry, is everyone suffers from I'm the man syndrome, Everyone wants to be the man. Everybody wants to be the 10 million cigars a year. Bullshit, guys. That ship has sailed, all right? Right now we've gotten punched right in the nuts. I'm down on my knees. We're producing at 30% capacity. The FDA's got a guillotine headed towards our neck 2 months from today. And we're going to sit here and not discuss the problems we're having down in Honduras or in Nicaragua? Absolutely not. We need to discuss all these things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that's why.
And public awareness is pretty crucial here, because more people talk about it, obviously, the message will be sent loud and clear.
Absolutely. And I try to stay focused and not get aggravated, but I'm becoming more vocal in a way that is meant to help the industry, not hurt the industry. You know, if a lot of people, when they're not vocal, is because they don't know what they're talking about. When I'm vocal about Honduras, is because our family's been there since 1901. We've seen presidents come and go, and our families financed presidential campaigns for dozens of presidents in Honduras. My grandfather thought about running for president, but he changed his mind at the last minute. But it's a country where we're invested in. We know what's going on. And I'll give you an example. Every hospital bed in Honduras is full. The country has run out of oxygen, guys.
Oh man.
What kind of numbers are we talking about there?
I don't know the exact numbers. My brother-in-law, who's a internal medicine physician and head of one of the ICU departments of the main private hospital in Tegucigalpa, he's at a loss for words.
That's sad.
He's at a loss for words, and we have to get the message out. Honduras is in crisis, but what happens is third world countries, each and every single president, it's like going from a failed presidency to a failed presidency to another moron who's another moron. And it's just like, so what happens is that these morons don't want to come out and say, hey guys, we need help. We got no oxygen. You know, because if Trump says, hey, you're doing a good job, they shut up and they stay quiet, you know?
Yeah.
But that's not the way things should be.
Are any countries at all trying to help from the outside that you know of? Is the U.S. trying, or anyone else?
So Nicaragua last year passed a law, actually on March of this year, they passed a law where if you're from Honduras, you now need a visa to go from Honduras to Nicaragua.
Really?
Wow.
Because the Daniel Ortega runs a very socialist, extreme type of government, and he likes to control the borders.
Right.
So we have zero help from Nicaragua. We have zero help from El Salvador. The only one that can help is the U.S., but the U.S. right now is really focused on the U.S., which rightfully so, they should be.
Every country has their own problems right now with it. Yeah.
But so the when you look at the state of affairs in Central America and you look at the FDA regulations, you just have to ask yourself, all right, guys, let's prioritize here. Why don't we save the world and then we can worry about cigars? Yeah, cigars aren't killed. Cigars haven't killed 200,000 people this year. This virus has.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
If I start sounding like Biden, just tell me to shut up, right?
Oh, don't worry. People are going to
will.
At least we know you know what you're talking about.
How do they stand there as far as having the ability to treat, though? Do they have enough medicines on hand? Do they have the ventilators? You know, what is their present status on all this stuff?
So they do have several treatment cocktails, they call them. Every country has their own treatment cocktail based on the epidemiology, the doctors, the public health system, what they have access to, right? That's under control. What they miscalculated was the number of beds, the number of respirators, which the U.S. has been generous and donated, I think, a couple hundred units, which is a lot. And infrastructure in Honduras is just not there because the hospitals, the public ones are terrible. The private ones are run by greedy bastards who don't really, they're in it for the profit, not in it to help. It kind of sucks. I feel like an asshole for never going into healthcare in Honduras, but my dad brought us to America because it's third world countries. It's very difficult to thrive if you're an honest guy.
Right.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of bargaining and envelopes being passed.
Absolutely. I'm not going to sit here and act like every country's like that. Just I think the envelopes get bigger.
Just get bigger, exactly.
Yeah. The color of the money changes, but it's all the same,
Yeah.
We got. By the way, Archie Rains wanted to say, "How you doing there, Gabby? What's up?"
Hey, Archie. Good to see you. Good to hear from you. Thank you, Archie. He's out of Texas.
We got a guest here from the Chicago Pipe Club. The new president, Tim Garrity, is also in studio. He wants to talk and mention something to you. I don't know if you can hear him.
I am a delicate flower, but I'll tell you what. One thing I have always preferred. This is just me. I've always preferred a Honduran cigar. I've always found their taste portfolio is a lot different than Nicaraguan, Dominican. There's always a very good smoke. I've never really had a bad Honduran cigar, so it's really it's hard to hear how hard the COVID virus is impacting, the countries that supply some of the things that I enjoy the most.
Well, I can tell you, not because he's here on the line, but we have been introduced to Dr. Gaby's Kafie 1901 line. And again, we're not blowing smoke up your butt because you know better than that.
You're sitting down anyway. We can't do it, but
your entire line. Look, I even got the little cigarillos that you put out.
Oh, wonderful, man. You were sold out of those, man.
I bet. There's no way you're going to keep this going. This was fantastic.
We're selling them now online for...
So I got to tell you a story.
And this pack was unbelievable.
Beautiful, man.
Yeah.
On those cigarillos, I think we're the only company making them hand-rolled.
Wow.
They're hand-rolled, 22 ring gauge cigars, binder, filler, wrapper.
Holy cow.
And what's interesting about them is our next shipment, we're bringing in 200 boxes, right? 100 natural, 100 Maduro. One customer asked us when they're coming back. One guy bought them all. I couldn't believe
it.
200 boxes?
So like the shipment's coming in 2 weeks and we're already sold out.
Oh my gosh.
Again.
Wow.
They are fantastic.
Very
they
good.
Really, really
Holy
are.
cow.
Thank you, man.
That is amazing.
It's
I did have one because Ronnie was nice enough to share one of them with me, so I did
one
get
time you were here 6 weeks ago. 3 months ago.
It's like 5 months ago now. Geez, I don't know, but yeah, it was an excellent smoke. I did enjoy that one.
It's kind of crazy, and I appreciate that because it's such a tiny little thing, and it's like a Napoleon cigar. It acts like it's a Toro. The flavors, right? It gives you like real tobacco cigar flavor. You think it's going to be like a gimmick or something? Not at all.
Yeah, exactly.
I know when you offered it to us when we were down visiting you, I was like, oh, this can't be much of anything, and like as soon as I lit it up, it was like, whoa, hold on here now.
Yeah, exactly.
This little thing is producing this much flavor.
It's exciting. I love them, and we're blessed, guys. We're not a big operation. I tell everybody we're small. We do what we can. We self-finance. We fight the good fight. A lot of guys in the industry are like, the way they see it is they've been around for so long, and they talk about how everybody agrees the industry is going to be affected. But is the definition of affected, you're going to go out of business or you're going to lose 50% of your business? And when you're going out of business, it's a tough thing to digest. But if my business is going to contract a little bit, I'm sure we can all adapt to that.
Yeah.
But don't tell me that I can't continue to do what I love. Like, this is America, guys. Come on. We've been selling cigars here for 300 years. You're going to tell me now it's a problem? 300 years they've been selling cigars in the U.S.
And tobacco was basically our first product that was even used as currency in this country. So, I mean, really, why are we thinking about stamping it out? It's not important to us,
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, this is the insurance companies and everything else, and of course the snowflakes who don't want to have smoke near them and all this other crap. But the bottom line is this: your rights aren't more important than ours.
Right.
We're all capable of making a decision. If I want to smoke, I'm going to smoke, plain and simple.
So that kind of leads into the rights.
Yes.
The post that you put the other day, and I'm trying to get hold of Luciano. He's on his road back driving from Florida, so I don't know.
It's okay.
But so the post that you put out, let's talk about that.
If you know what, I want to talk about it. Can I turn on the extractor real quick?
Yeah, go for
it.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'll be right.
Definitely,
I
no
apologize.
problem.
Give
No
me
problem.
2 seconds.
No problem.
And just to let you know, folks, Luciano has just reached out to me, and he'll be coming on shortly. Um, and again, two men that are fighting for our rights, fighting for tobacco, fighting Big Brother.
Yep.
Thank you, gentlemen.
That's a hell of a fight.
This has
Yeah.
started how many years ago? 4 or 5 years ago.
Three. Oh
No,
no.
The
With
latest thing
with
is
the
about,
FDA was
Oh.
about what, 4 years ago when this started?
I would say
Yeah,
4.
August
the
8th.
last administration's just had a stronghold and stuff, and has really pushed forward their ridiculousness. And this new administration that's happening, we have a lot of people that are trying to go to bat to save our rights, the same way like our Second Amendment rights.
Right.
So, folks, again, I know we opened up and we're getting a lot of people to jump on board right now. You need to listen to what's going on. You need to take notes, and
you need
please
to be vocal.
Be vocal. Call your. Let's start with the local party first, or who's around you, and go all the way up, all the way to Washington D.C. Like Dr. Gaby says, we need for people to hear what is going on. We just can't sit back and expect Dr. Gaby or Luciano, just two people going there to fight.
Power in numbers, man.
Yes.
We got to have everybody on board. Otherwise, we're going to lose, and that's it. If you want to continue enjoying your cigars and your pipe tobacco and stuff, you've got to make noise. That's the only way we're going to survive this thing.
And joining us right
here
now,
he is,
the one, the only, Luciano is here tonight. Our other crusader in the box, along with Dr. Gaby. Luciano, you guys have never met. I've been trying to team you guys up for a while, and I hope. Well, let's see.
We lost you.
Well, he's setting
There
himself up. There he is again. Trying to set you up, Luciano, with Dr. Gaby for a while. I think you guys have so much in common. You guys have the passion and love like two men of cigars that we've never met. And you're both fighting Washington. How you doing?
Stop talking. Let them say something.
Setting it all
wow.
Well, first of all, good to see you all.
Yeah, good
Yes,
to see
good.
you.
Honor to be here. Very nice to meet you, Gaby.
Hi, Luciano. It's my pleasure. It's about
I
time,
heard great
man.
things about you. Yeah, absolutely.
Everything's a lie, man. Don't believe anything you hear.
Hey, don't call us liars, will you?
That works both ways, my friend.
I know, brother. It's a pleasure. It's good to have you here.
Well, we kind of started off about the fight, Luciano, and you two guys. We're going to want you guys to really carry the show from here and talk about the fight in Washington.
Oh man.
I guess I'll do a really brief introduction as to how we got here, right? So the FDA regulations went into effect August 8th of 2016. And it was something the industry, with the previous administration, we knew that it was going to happen. It got passed and voted in. Ever since 2009, the Tobacco Smoking Prevention Act kind of like just cannonballed, and we never really thought that premium cigars were going to be affected. But I think one of the major problems that we discovered kind of late in the game is that the federal government, the FDA, they had a really poor definition of what a premium cigar was compared to a machine-made cigar, compared to a cigarillo, compared to, I mean, they have like a photo of what a cigar is, and there's 10 different products there. One is a handmade artisanal long filler premium cigar. So the first battle, and I'm fast forwarding like up to like 2019 now, last year, where we, for the first time in the history of our industry, we established the actual definition of what a premium cigar is. And we're actually fighting to try to get an exemption for that product. That's what ruffled a lot of feathers in the industry, because there's a lot of companies out there that have portfolios with multiple types of product offerings, not just premium cigars. So where we are today, fast forward, is, $5 million have been spent on a lawsuit against the FDA. of which only a few people really did finance that lawsuit. And we're all grateful to them for what they've done. As a small operation, we do what we can, but nowhere is near what they've been able to contribute, right? Um, and that's why I think I've taken on the fight to really do things that money can't buy. Sometimes, there's two types of fight, right? You put your money up and have the lawyers fight,
Yep.
and then you got the other type of fight, which you don't stop doing research, and you don't stop submitting letters, and you don't stop contacting every frickin' politician that works for us, and basically letting them know what's going on and what's happening and what we can do to stop it.
That's the
So
personal fight.
it's a personal fight, but it's a personal fight. And since we created the Boutique Cigar Association, we're doing it on behalf of all the companies that are small members. Because you got to look, to be really blunt, the small guys out there, a lot of them are kind of like, they're just trying to keep their company together. They don't really have the capacity to fight the good fight. So, we work together to help each other out. And I've really just taken on the agenda to prove the FDA wrong with what they want to do to our industry. They are 100% scientifically wrong about substantial equivalence testing on premium cigars. It is impossible to do. It cannot be done. You cannot get reproducible results. And that is a fact. It is a scientific fact. And I've spent the past 2 weeks writing a paper that I'll be submitting tomorrow to them to show them that what they're asking us to do is scientifically impossible. So that's the fight that we're bringing to the table. So I'll let Luciano take over and let us know kind of from their angle what their perspective is, and over the past 3 years, it's all yours, brother.
Yeah, the deeming regulations are there for a long time, and we're trying to fight uh, this approach because we are just putting in the same bag as with all the other tobacco products, and that created a big stress in all ends. But I want to refer to an article I wrote for the PCA magazine a month ago when I say that our biggest enemy, it's not the FDA, but it's our disunion. So you mentioned about the definition of premium cigar. And
Right.
to this day, there is no agreement between all the players of what that definition truly is. And there is a group, let's call it I don't want to mention names, and the reason why I'm not mentioning it. But there's a group which has more of the big tobacco involved as well. But not everybody's a big tobacco there, but they have important agreements with the big tobacco. They have one specific definition that involves more things that would make, let's put it this way, things a little harder, okay, to get this relief that we are looking for. Now, there is a definition that was actually agreed upon everybody, but because of let's say, the interest of groups where the premium tobacco, the premium cigar is not their main business, so they're fighting for something else. They're fighting for more. And they're fighting for a definition that eventually might not be, the results might not be the ones that we are looking for the premium cigar, which I like to call the premium cigar family.
Yeah.
So if we, and it's hard because, you have one group fighting for one definition, and I was in DC, and I honest to God, this is absolutely true. I'm not going to mention names here, but I can tell the story. We were in DC with meetings scheduled with senators. You walk into the office of that senator, and a lobbyist from a different group, also representing the premium tobacco, just went to the office a few minutes later. And because he's playing a bigger game, also for cigarettes and some other products that you guys know, it's a way bigger industry than the premium cigars. And they basically ruined our meeting. They came They're fighting for a definition that's harmful to everybody else. So I think the most basic element of all this discussion is unity. And I think now this is my optimistic side. You guys know how I'm a half full glass kind of guy. I think actually that we've never been so close to each other in terms of industry as we are right now. Because in one side we have all these guys who are fighting for the interests of shareholders who today they are B, tomorrow they are Z. We just don't know who they are. And quite frankly, we're talking about this big four, the big three. If they cancel their premium cigar operation, that doesn't stop them because it's not even 1% of the entire operation. It's nothing for them.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care.
Yeah.
And that's the crude, the raw facts. We have a bunch of guys, which is the majority, 99% of this industry. They do care. It's a very special industry, guys. We're talking about an industry where we help each other. We don't make enemies. We always support each other. What kind of industry you see competitors, we're supposed to be competitors, helping each other and standing together? Now more than ever, we're staying together. The majority, are staying together, but we still fight, unfortunately, some of these big corporations who are just interested in let's say, the profits of the shareholders, and still they don't even play like too much in that game. To be honest, it's more like I don't know, a branding thing, I guess. But as of now, I'm very optimistic. I think September is going to be a very important month for all of us. I think your initiative, Gaby, of writing to the FDA and putting pressure. I think this is extremely important. I'm sure you are coordinating this with CRA, CAA, and PCA. This is extremely important. So we have a cohesive voice. We are all working together towards the same goal. Because that's what we need right now. We don't need disunion. We need unity.
Do you see the unity actually coming into play by September, where the big three or four that you mentioned will get on board with the smaller guy?
I don't see a scenario where we will get like we're gonna work together, because we tried many times. I don't think there is actually an interest. But I think what we expect in September, it's good for everybody. So I don't think they're gonna oppose, or anyone is opposing to, and we don't know what's gonna happen in September. Hopefully, it will. Because if you think about it, the legislation is there. So the idea will be to change that legislation. But there's no actually a specific lawsuit fighting legislation, because you can't. What you can fight for is the interpretation of the law, and it's how the FDA will apply this law. So the details of the dimming regulations are extremely important for us. And I think there's a common sense in Washington, D.C., and everybody that I talk to, that premium cigars should not have the same treatment as some other tobacco products that are out there. And I think this is going to become clear in September. That's our hope.
I know Trump had said that he would like to get it out of the FDA's hands and return it back to the original owners. Let's put it that way.
This was a pure speculation. It was him like thinking out loud and saying, So the only chance for this to happen, if it is a change, a new bill on the floor, then there will eventually vote into that possibility. As of now, it's just impossible. Even I believe it or not, when it comes to the FDA, not even executive orders cannot actually change that.
Really?
I mean, it's much more suited to the Department of Agriculture, just because it's an agricultural product.
Exactly.
It's not we're not creating a drug.
So my point is, the president himself cannot tell the FDA to approve a drug or to approve a product.
Right.
So that's what the law says. Now, what Trump could have done, and by not executive order, but using his executive powers, It's to put someone there at the FDA that would apply a reasonable interpretation of the law and say, listen, we cannot include premium cigars into this regulation. It doesn't make sense at all. And that's our hope, you know. I agree with Gabby. I think it's absolutely impossible. And you know, it's funny. I have we have a lot of friends in Steli, and I always ask them, what are you putting in your sheet to the FDA? You know, what are you telling them? And I look at every single report. It's all saying Havana, botanical species, Havana, Havana, and Havana, and Havana, and Havana. Because what we're gonna say, you know, when it comes to the tobacco that we use in our products, and Gabby knows that really well. We got some hybrids that they were created in the 1980s, 1990s. Everything is Havana. Everything was somehow crossed with Havana seeds, and even like Mexico tobacco, just to improve the quality of the tobacco, we've been creating different hybrids, different versions of Connecticut, of Sumatra, of what is known today as Cohojo. It's a variation of Criollo with some Indonesian tobacco. So again, it's a stupid thing, and even if we start filling up all the sheets for the FDA, I was looking at it. I said, man, what are we going to put in here? Because this is just tobacco wrapped in tobacco.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when you explain the process, this is a naturally fermented product. This is we call aerobic fermentation, and that's what it is. So of course, some factors might have different processes, but it comes to fermented tobacco.
Okay. Which is going back to what Frank said. It's a plant. It's agriculture. It should not be in their hands, though.
It's not that simple because marijuana is a plant, cocaine is a plant.
Right.
It's not that simple. But I get what you're saying.
Readily available.
But I get your point. But the thing is, tobacco has been an object of research and regulations for a long time.
Oh yes, started back in the 60s.
It's undeniable that it's not just not enough data, but it is proven that premium cigars are not. You don't have even a coefficient to calculate any cause of cancer or we don't have even stats to prove that because it's a very, very small sample of our society. And but we know by several other studies too that even like the premium cigars, the tobacco itself, the amount of tobacco that we consume, that's consumed amongst all age groups and stuff, is just not enough to be considered any danger or any harm to our society.
And there's no addictive quality to cigar tobacco, so no one is addicted to that cigar where they must have it intravenous.
That's arguable too. I agree, but there's still different versions of that research.
How did this actually land in the FDA's hands?
That's a good question.
How did that very good question happen?
I have no freaking idea.
I'll tell you how.
It was one of the most stupid things.
Gabby,
we know how it happened. It was a few congressmen, Democratic congressmen, who suggested that. But if you ask me, the essence of the question, I don't know why. Maybe Gabby.
How about you?
Any idea on that one?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
You talking to me?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Nobody else in the room. You must be talking to me.
One of the unfortunate things of being a doctor and having a brother who's a doctor and a brother-in-law who's a doctor and everybody's a doctor, right? Is that a lot of people don't realize the effects of the Affordable Care Act. And When the Affordable Care Act was passed by President Obama, and the federal government was going to step in and subsidize the health care of practically all Americans, at that point, the federal government felt that they had a right to choose and decide what we consume and ingest.
Right.
And that is why the FDA is up our ass today.
Wow.
It is exactly why. So if everyone wants to see the FDA move away from premium cigars, they need to repeal the Affordable Care Act. That's why you see Trump making moves the past month. He's been asking the Supreme Court to repeal the Affordable Care Act. You know, for so long, we've all been focused on the evidence of the effects of premium cigars as it applies to humans. And that is a large component of why we shouldn't be regulated, because there is really no evidence based on the populace affected. The consumer base is too little, just like Luciano says. And studies have been done even by the NIH, National Institute of Health, which is beautiful because it's funded by the federal government. The FDA has done their own studies, which have also found out that premium cigars are not the problem. What started the problem was the Affordable Care Act. And then today we have a bigger problem because there's one topic that the entire premium cigar industry is afraid to talk about when it comes to regulation of premium cigars, but it is the one topic that can save the entire premium cigar industry. And it's the prolonged fermentation period that our products, our tobacco undergoes. We go through fermentation processes and cycles. Depending on the leaf, you can go from 6 fermentation cycles up to 24 fermentation cycles, and it can last from 9 months up to 2.5 to 3 years.
Right.
The FDA does not regulate any products that undergo a prolonged fermentation cycle because it is scientifically impossible to reproduce substantial equivalence results. Look at any alcohol beverage. Look at wine. Look at beer. Look at whiskeys. Look at bourbons. Anything that goes through a prolonged fermentation cycle, and this includes cheeses, they do not regulate based on substantial equivalence. And I've been working the past 2 weeks putting together a paper
that's very interesting.
That has collected, I've collected scientific research from the Department of Agriculture dating back to 1934 that talks about cigar leaf tobacco and how cigar leaf tobacco has a variety of up to 30 microorganisms that live on the surface of the tobacco leaf, both bacterial and fungus. And these colonies, you got to remember when fermentation is an exothermic reaction, right? It's a thermogenesis reaction. It produces heat. But people say, well, we just add water. Like, how does it produce heat? Well, there's bacteria. Bacteria and fungus produce enzymes. These enzymes like catalase, protease, they begin to biodegrade the minerals, and the ammonia and carbon dioxide begins to be released in the fermentation rooms. But one of the beautiful things about the fermentation process is all nitrogen-based molecules begin to fall apart. And nicotine is a nitrogen-based molecule. So nicotine goes from being a volatile ion into like a salt, which isn't absorbed in the mucosa. So the critical, Mitch Zeller last week, and I don't want to talk about private meetings we've had. I'm sure you know, Luciano, you've heard what happened at the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Mitch Zeller said to us, what separates your combustible tobacco products from all other combustible tobacco products? The answer is prolonged fermentation. We're the only industry that puts our tobacco through a 3, 4, 5-year fermentation period that involves bacteria, fungus, enzymes, water, and that cycle that repeats. By the way, it's impossible, and you know this, Luciano, tell everybody, man, every single pilon at a factory is different than the next one.
Sure.
You could substantially equivalence test. You can go to let's say, Nick Perdomo, right? You've all seen his warehouse with like 200 pilons, right? You could test them all. They'll all give you different results.
Wow.
So how is it every single cigar, by the nature of the science of the prolonged fermentation process, is going to give you different results? So what I'm asking the FDA in the letter I'm sending them literally tomorrow is, if you can prove to the premium cigar industry that substantial equivalence works on premium cigars that have undergone prolonged fermentation, and you can reproduce the results, then at that point in time, you have the right to ask me to spend $20,000 on every cigar that I'm producing. But they haven't even done that. You know why they haven't done that? Because they know the answer.
So
Yeah,
what's
now that you backed them up into the corner, what can you expect? I mean, what can they possibly come back with?
Look, I'm going to put them in a position that if they make us do something that they themselves haven't done, I'm going to open up the door to litigation. They can't force me to spend my hard-earned money on something that they haven't even done themselves and proven that it works. I'm telling them it doesn't work. I have the scientific evidence to show them that it doesn't work. They can't come back and ask me. It'd be like me telling you guys, hey, go do this. And you're like, well, why? I don't want to waste my money. I know it doesn't work. Right. They can't ask me to spend. Imagine the burden of proof is on us. This is like saying you're guilty until proven innocent.
Well, seems like the new wave.
That is a new thing in courts these days, but
so I'll take a step back because
yeah, you get fired up. I could tell, but we're with you, man.
No. But the fact is that if you look at the science, and I have, I was a nerd in school, man. I loved everything: biology, chemistry, organic chemistry. I used to tutor organic chemistry, P-chem, physics. I was a med school. I wasn't just a sports medicine physician. I did a fellowship in lower extremity amputation prevention and performed over 3,000 amputations during my profession. Worked with teams like the Miami Heat. Like I'm not the guy that just settles in the average zone. Right. If these guys want to put me out of business, I'm not going to let them put me out of business, period. Yeah. And I'm taking, and everybody that is in my shoes, in my industry, our industry, you've got guys that have been fighting with money. You've got guys that have been visiting Washington, D.C. nonstop. You've got people that have put their blood, sweat, and tears. And if I can contribute just a little bit to get that ball over the hill, I'm going to do it. That's it. It's the science doesn't lie. It does not lie.
Luciano, what do you think? Are we on target for that? What can we, the consumers, the little guy, what can we do? Because I've been talking about going to our local politicians and starting there and working our way up. I mean, obviously, you guys have your own star lines.
What I think we need is it's an organized movement.
Yeah.
And I know that there is a big effort to join all the organizations that are fighting for the industry to go and talk and speak together, because then they'll be louder, instead of spending money decentralized, we should all spend money together with a strategy and again, thinking together solutions. I think some of the things I'm hearing tonight from Gaby, they are just fascinating. They're absolutely true.
Yeah.
And we need, we need these arguments to be heard and to be considered. How we make them be heard and be considered, that's the challenge. And I think, of course, litigation is always an option, but if you think about it, and I think you guys and I discussed this some years ago, this fight is not a today's fight. We've been fighting for this for a long time, and all we get is postponement and postponement and postponement, and nothing really happens. And I got to be honest, I expected more for the Trump administration when it comes to really go and because he could have actually go to the FDA and tell his guy that's there. He just appointed a guy a few months ago. Say, hey, give relief to this guy. This doesn't make sense. He could have done this many times. I know that Trump Jr. is doing a big,
I was just going to say
big movement. But again, when it comes close to elections, that's what happens always.
Right.
I'm sorry. I'm being extremely, extremely skeptical these days with politicians, to be honest, on both sides.
Right.
I think Trump had 5 years to solve this, and he didn't. And I don't think he's going to solve next year either. I think it's a very sensitive topic. You got to have the balls to do it, and you got to make sure this can only be done if we have someone that can dialogue with the other side. It has to be a bipartisan action as well. We need the industry united to change the law. Now, with the law that we have, Trump could have done more. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. I'm not, accusing him of everything. This is a fact. It's just has not been done. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, the poor man has his hands full with a lot of stuff, but
he's been in court
whatever.
every day since
Whatever.
Well,
whatever. I'm leaving politics aside here, guys.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't care. Who you vote for. What I'm telling you is, from an industry perspective, nothing happened. Everybody thought that something would happen because he would actually deregulate premium cigars. He didn't. He didn't do anything. Nor from a legislation side, nor an executive side. From a legislation side, I don't think there's nothing that he could have done. And let's be fair here. But from an executive side, I think he could have done a lot. And for some reason, he didn't. I don't know if this was not important. Of course, there's so many things happening right now, with COVID-19 and everything else. Well, if he was planning to do something his last year, because or the last year of his first term, whatever you believe it's going to happen, I don't believe it's happening. So we pray that the pressure that we are creating now, and common sense, that they will.
What do we see?
Oh yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
there he is.
I'm doing advertising for you, Luciano.
Appreciate it.
Voted.
I think
Luciano the Traveler voted best cigar.
You're running for Honduras, right?
Yeah, man. I hope you get Nicaragua, brother. I hope you get it.
I hope we got Honduras.
You're both running neck and neck for your countries there, and I have a feeling you guys are in pretty good shape.
That's a great company to be in.
I'm running against big guys.
Is there any way to mobilize, the cigar smoking public to help with the PCA, to actually push this forward?
No, absolutely.
Everybody has a movement today. We need a
march.
Yeah.
We need to mobilize.
Tobacco smokers matter.
So I do have a suggestion that actually even Great Lake Smokes can actually do that.
Yes.
If we can produce a document to engage the consumers and do something online where they can just Avast and all these websites where they can go and sign.
Right,
and we can deliver a petition in DC with hundreds of thousands of signatures. Again, this is election. We got to take advantage of this time.
Yeah,
it's always happened during an election, and
if
we can get some pressure into some politicians to do things now before the election, that would be great.
I know I've signed a few petitions, but who knows what's even come of those?
Yeah.
Again, it's the whole unity.
Right. It needs to be from one voice. It has to come from one voice.
One presentation.
Yeah, we'll look into. I believe there's a website I think it's called signmypetition.org or something like that allows anyone to. So we can look into that and see if we can start our own voice here through the podcast and on air and our tens of thousands of listeners that we don't have.
You gotta make noise.
Well, Dr. Gaby's working on something. Can we utilize that letter and promote that on our show and push it from there, and then get this petition, Kyle, that you're talking about? What you two guys, what can we do to move forward on that? Luciano, we definitely will do that. Do you have something in the works, writing wise, that you can think of, or Dr. Gaby?
My suggestion, of course, because I'm wearing one hat here right now, which is being an AMMB, for the PCA. I would say, contact PCA, contact Josh.
Okay.
tell him what you want to do, get information. I think you guys are doing a great service to the industry just by having us talk about this.
Yeah.
Inform the consumer is extremely important as well. So I think maybe get more involved. Get more involved with the industry. Just call PCA office, call CRA. This interaction you guys have with Gaby, with the boutique cigars too. Talk to everybody and try to get as much information and clear information, not misinformation, because everybody likes to talk about there's the FDA regulations, but people have no idea what's going on.
No more
litigations,
no more fake news,
executive regulations. Everybody talks about it, but nobody knows about it. It's interesting. But that might be an issue actually with the communications of all these organizations. They don't make it clear, so all the documents are extremely technical. So when the public access those documents, they just don't understand sometimes.
No, it's
and we have to kind of maybe improve the language, so then more people can understand, more people can participate and really buy in.
More in layman's terms. As I said, after a while, people read these words or paragraphs.
You got to get it out of the lawyer's office and put it down to the average worker.
Well, yeah, base thing that you can ever do is like take note from news people or newscasters whenever they write an article or talk about a subject or anything. They talk in terms of, and I learned this in school too. You put things in terms of at a 6th grade level education. You have to put things in terms that low, because that's about, unfortunately, the average Joe's education is at about a 6th grade level. So as long as you put your
and it's got to be short.
And by the way, you go to cigartrophy.com.
Hey, there it is.
There you go.
and you vote for the best cigar of Nicaragua, for Luciano, best cigar of Honduras, for Kafie.
And you vote for the best one in Honduras.
Go out there.
1901.
For those who don't know, Luciano cigar. Luciano the Traveler is up for best cigar of Nicaragua. So yes, all our listeners out there, please, if you can.
He's up against some big competition,
heavyweights,
and heavyweights, and for me to move off of a heavyweight to go to Luciano and check mark it, that took a lot, because I'm a big time Padron smoker, have been for many years. But being introduced to Luciano's, let me tell you, that's a special cigar that you've created. And
but we turned you on to Kafie.
And Gaby's. Oh no, I voted for
No,
let's put it this way: the best of Honduras.
Yes.
That's right. There you go.
Gaby, Kafie, best of Honduras. Luciano the Traveler, best of Nicaragua. We got the best of both worlds right here, right on
Earth. We got the best two guys that are fighting for us in Washington, D.C. Pretty much on a daily note.
We got to support them. They can't do it alone, folks. We need to push right behind them.
If we want to keep it simple, and I want to reiterate a point, right? The FDA does not regulate any products that undergo a prolonged fermentation cycle, because that fermentation cycle is different based on the bacteria present, the fungus present, the water content present. When you're looking at the maestros making the pilon, right? And they got their backpack on their back with the water sprayer. You think they're measuring the amount of water that they're putting on the tobacco? They're not.
No.
And water, the amount of water applied directly affects the amount of heat produced in that pilon. So every pilon is different. You cannot perform substantial equivalence testing and get results that are valid so that you can conclude that one cigar is the same as the other cigar. It does not exist.
To your point, Gaby. To your point, Gaby, it's not much of the water that's applied to the leaf, which I understand, some processes, they use more water than some other processes, but even if you use just moisture, or even the local humidity, like if you actually aged a tobacco in Steli, it's a completely different humidity than aging a cigar in the Dominican
Right,
Republic,
right.
where you have about
Totally.
60-70% average of humidity, and in Steli it's 50-45.
Completely.
So it's a completely different.
And let's not forget the inner thighs of the women, the rollers that roll the cigars on the inner thigh. They have different sweat. I'm joking, guys.
That changes the pH altogether.
Luciano, man, you know, one thing I was reading about, and I make stupid jokes, man. I apologize.
So do we. Don't worry about it. Join the club.
I always thought that was the smell of the sea that was coming through.
That's funny. Yeah. But one of the things that this article, 24-page article from 1934, done by the Department of Agriculture on the plant physiology of cigar leaf tobacco, right? It was done in Pennsylvania. They actually discovered that from crop to crop, you know, after you harvest the tobacco has a water content of usually 30% or less. 30% of the leaf is mostly water, right? But then after you cure it, everybody has different curing cycles in the aging barns, depending on everything Luciano's talking about, the heat, you know, the airflow. And look, when you go to Nicaragua, by the way, I don't know if any of you have ever gone to Managua. It's freaking hot, man. It is hot. It's humid. You know you're there. Like, it's not like you have to, when you wake up in the morning, you know where you're at, you know? Honduras is different because the capital city is up 4,000 feet elevation. It's like California weather. But then it's a 2-hour drive to the factory. And where are we driving? We're going towards Nicaragua. And even our factory in Danlí is at like 1,200 feet elevation. So what we have to contend with is early morning, we have fog coming over the hills, and it's a cold humidity. So every cigar producing country, every region has different humidity factors. You know, the concept of, let's say if you have a guy that has a cigar that was made in the Dominican Republic, and then you switched factories are now making it in Nicaragua because the FDA said, doesn't matter where you make it as long as it's grandfathered. I'm sorry, guys, but it's a different cigar.
Absolutely.
It's a completely different cigar. So I'm betting all my money on the fact that SE testing doesn't work. I know it doesn't work. It can't. It's impossible. And I've also downloaded other articles that literally state from the FDA that they do not do testing on products that have undergone extensive fermentation. Period. That's from the FDA itself.
I'm just going to play the devil's advocate here, okay? Because we've been to the discussion many times.
Okay.
So,
thank you.
The chemical analysis of the cigar exists for a long time, right? So, and the main labs that do this tests are based in London. I know that because we export a lot to Europe, and we have to run this tests for even for South America. And I'm going to make a very polemic statement here. I am not against regulation. I think people wants to know what they put in their mouths.
Right.
Food wise, anything you put in your mouth, you want to know what it is.
Absolutely.
My problem is the FDA regulating. It's completely wrong.
Yes, man. Yes.
And the regulation should actually something that should be built together with the manufacturers, because again, it's all about information. You're absolutely right, Gaby, because they just don't know it.
It should, like you're saying,
if they're gonna analyze fertilizers, pesticides.
Oh my God!
I think this is important. I think it's I mean, as much as it hurts us for the manufacturing side, and as you know, I've been manufacturing cigars for quite a long time. I try to use the best, the all natural, or the least
toxic,
dangerous, toxic pesticides and stuff. Like this tobacco I'm smoking right now. So it's predominantly Peruvian tobacco, and we have to grow this high altitude, so we don't use too much pesticides. So we have a more pure tobacco. So I think actually the regulation in its essence, it's not bad. It's actually good for society, and we got to face this with honesty. Because if we just say, cigars should never be regulated, we are going against a worldwide trend, and will eventually happen because it is regulated in Europe, it is regulated in South America, it is regulated in Central America.
But it's
So,
navigable.
but it's not this type of regulation that they are proposing, which is insane.
Right. They
It's
want
just insane.
It's. I want it to be navigable. Period.
Yep.
What if we do something along the lines of we take it out of the government's hands? Oops, excuse me. Bugs flying around here. And
That
we
was a
put it
big
in.
one, man.
Yeah, it was a lightning bug. And we put it into the industry hands. So we let the PCA, the BCA, all the top industries set the guidelines and have the industry go by those guidelines set by your people.
Well, Luciano
So,
brought up a good point. Yeah, go ahead, Luciano.
No, please. I don't
No,
want to talk too much.
because Luciano
But
already brought up the reason why. So self-regulation is the ideal, the ultimate goal, right? But
Mhm.
you know, and we have look, BCA believes what PCA believes, and CRA. We're like, it's the only difference is that our companies are tiny, right? That's the only difference. I think I'm one of the biggest in the group, and we produce last year 480,000 cigars. Like for the world, that's not a lot, you know. When you
That's pretty small compared to the world. Yeah.
yeah, so we're pretty small, and we're like a lot of small companies, self-financed, debt-free, and we got to manage our money smart. But some of the big boys, like you talk, I'll mention Davidoff. Davidoff's portfolio includes cigarettes. So when we sit at the table and say, "Hey guys, let's self-regulate," all of a sudden, different people are interested in protecting their portfolio, and we're just interested in protecting premium cigars. This is what Luciano talked about, is that there's a lot of big players out there that have, let's bring in flavored cigars. That's another monkey in the room that nobody wants to touch.
I just read today that the whole state of California is moving to ban all flavored tobaccos.
And cities across the U.S. are putting their own bans into place on that.
All over.
So
But,
I mean,
so you guys, that issue with the definition of the premium cigar was exactly what Gaby was saying. Davidoff, the Newmans, which I respect, but they're trying to kind of throw a word in that definition, which is machine. They're not saying it's a machine roll, but they said, what is the definition of premium cigar? I don't remember exactly the definition, but it says, and a machine. And what they're saying is that machine refers to the Lieberman machine, the buncher, right?
Yes,
the buncher machine, which is not actually a machine. It's just let's say
a mechanical tool.
Yeah, it's a mechanical tool used by the buncher. But they want to throw that in there, so later they can argue that the law has machine included, which is, in my opinion, it's stupid. But just talking about the fermentation products that Gaby was mentioning. So even wine and some other fermented products, beer, there is a regulation, and you cannot have too much sulfates. You cannot. There is a limit of the alcohol levels. The fermentation needs to follow a process. So that type of regulation is okay, and it's good for the industry. What is wrong is when you establish a regulation just to control tobacco and to kill the industry. That's what they want.
Yeah.
They want to get rid of all the tobacco products.
Of course they do.
And they're using this to attack our industry, not because they want to regulate the industry. And that's what pisses me off, and that's what we have to fight for.
Well, that's all right. I'm just going to keep calling it a salad that I've rolled myself, and I'm smoking my salad. So,
but this, we're talking about cigars right now, but this also extends right into pipe tobacco.
Yeah.
There's so much flavoring that goes into pipe tobaccos too. That what happens with that now?
Yeah.
I honestly don't know shit about pipe tobacco.
No, it is included in the same bill. It's included in the same bill. That's the issue. We're trying to differentiate, one from the other. And again, I think pipe tobacco is part of our world culture. It's part of our American culture.
Yeah.
So it's absurd what they do with pipes as well.
Absolutely.
So, pipe tobacco tends to have a lot of. I got to be honest with you, man. When I smell pipe tobacco, I fall in love with it. And I don't know if you guys know this. Sam Lucia years ago made a cigar where he actually put pipe tobacco inside the long filler cigar.
Oh, okay.
I forgot
Wow.
the name of the cigar, but man, he actually would like for us to begin to experiment with that to bring the blend back to market. But I told them, listen, man, let's wait until September. Let's see what happens. Let's not provoke.
Yeah.
I don't want to do anything right now to piss off the lion any more than
don't
you know. It's
No,
a very
just stay
delicate.
focused on what you're doing.
One
Dr.
thing at a
Gaby,
time.
because we need that. We need what you're doing. We need, Luciano, what you're doing in Washington with you're on the board. I mean, this is very important to us and to so many people.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we said, what can we do on our show that we can keep promoting? I mean, that's why with this show here, it's amazing. I'm so happy that both of you are here. And I hope we can get you again together on the show to talk about the updates. What kind of feedback you're going to get from your letter, Dr. Gaby?
Yeah, I'd love to hear that.
What's going on when you get back to Washington with Rocky and the rest of the crew? This is the stuff that we want to report and get to all our audience and spread the word. Share that with all the other podcast show. Gaby, you do a show with Kerr and Armin, two good friends of ours. Luciano, you're doing so much with Miguel and John and
the Bowl.
Everybody. There's so many shows out there, and we know a lot of these guys are following this show, listening to us, and picking those ideas of what we're talking about and bringing it out back to their show. This
just got to educate everybody, but we also need to get that firsthand information because that's the truth. We don't want to spread rumors,
I'm going to plug something here, okay?
Yep.
So if you want to know more about what's going on, with the actions in DC on a state level, make sure you go to the premiumcigars.org, premiumcigars.org, and then on the menu, you just find advocacy. And then there's several topics here: take action, state, federal, FDA toolbox, and PAC. So go there. Everything you need to know is there, and this is updated on a daily basis. You can get very good quality of information at the PCA website, which is premiumcigar.org. And you actually have a petition there, a live petition where you can sign as well.
Oh,
so,
okay, good.
Use this tools, and I know the CRA has something similar as well. All these blogs, Half Wheel, Blind Man's Puff, they all have a lot of information available. But PCA has this amazing tool where you can just log in and this is open access to everybody. You don't have to be a member; just go there and you can check it out.
We'll share a link on our Facebook page for everyone out there, so they have an option to get to
people to read it and certainly sign up. That's important.
So it's interesting. I was thinking about what's happened the past 2 years, and when we lost Dr. Scott Gottlieb, it's kind of interesting. A lot of people don't know this. The former FDA commissioner actually was a venture capitalist investor in e-cig companies. Did you guys know that?
No, not at all.
No.
Yeah, so he's also a doctor, Dr. Scott Gottlieb, I think out of North Carolina, and he was the FDA commissioner for the first 2 years of the Trump administration, and then somewhere in the middle, it just kind of like he stepped down, and he was replaced by another physician, I think from Texas. And Dr. Scott Gottlieb was giving us very positive feedback as to what the FDA was focused on. And their focus was primarily on nicotine delivery devices, right? And back in March of 2019, I wrote a paper to Gottlieb when he was still there, titled "Premium Cigars Are a Poor Delivery Tool for Nicotine." And I went through the science behind why my findings were such, not including testing, of course, right? But the prolonged fermentation does reduce ammonia levels and also reduces nicotine levels. You lose 5% weight during a fermentation cycle. So if you're fermenting, let's say 1,000 pounds of tobacco, you'll lose 50 pounds of weight. And the weight that you're losing is really those ammonia minerals, carbon and carbon dioxide, as well as nicotine. So I went through that whole ordeal, submitted like 5 different this is all stuff we're now revisiting with Mitch Zeller, correct? The second paper I wrote was I look at history, right? If you want to know if cigars are bad for you, I always say now premium cigars because I'm trying to differentiate ourselves from the other small machine-made cigars with the plastic filters, right? I wrote a paper on the life expectancy of cigar factory owners. And of the 18 that have passed away in the past 100 years, you know what the average life expectancy was for those guys? It was 88 years old.
Wow. So
you know what the average life expectancy for a regular American is? It's 72, man.
So smoking cigars will extend your life. That's what I'm reading here. So folks, pick up the habit.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying when the youngest guy to pass away was Don Carlos Fuente, and God rest his soul. He was 81, but still he was 8 years over the average age of life expectancy in the U.S. of 72. So between paper number 1, premium cigars are a poor delivery tool for nicotine. Paper number 2, which was the life expectancy of all these cigar factory owners, and I hope I make it to 90. God bless us both with the long. God bless us all with a long life, right? And then paper number 3, my findings on this extended fermentation process and how I'm trying to debunk substantial equivalency. I think there's a lot of good arguments there that the FDA has not proven yet. The FDA has not proven that cigars are bad for us. The FDA has not proven that testing can be done. They don't even know how to test them. In Europe, they do test them, but they're testing for different things that are, let's just say the process is not that expensive. It's not that big of an obstacle. We can overcome it. But we just need a navigable process. That's all we're asking for is don't put us out of business. I think regulations make an industry better, but don't put us out of business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's all we're asking.
Yeah.
Be fair.
Yes.
And again, do the research that's there. And as we're hearing, it's almost impossible. So again, we have to make the voice. We want this. This is what we enjoy. We have to do the battle and go along with you two guys and the crew. So yeah, the information you just gave us, Luciano, about where to go and where to read, we're going to get that on our page and get it out there. Hopefully,
it's
if
posted
I can,
now.
Or Kyle, we can try to do it on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And then whatever you're writing, your notes and letters, Gaby, we would want to get that on the show and also pass that on because, again, we kind of feel like we got a good following. We're going to get a lot of people to read that and get involved because this right now, September is around the corner. We've got 2 solid months to get the word out and get this fight more than ever now because November is around the corner also. And
yes.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to joke now.
Oh.
All right.
I was going to say, and you have only 2 days to vote for
best of Nicaragua, Luciano the Traveler.
and vote for the best of Nicaragua on Cigar Trophy.
All right. And get yes, for Nicaragua, Luciano Traveler and Kafie on the Honduras side.
Here we go. A cheap plug.
There you go. Hey, we'll take a plug. Why not? It's a good plug. I like that.
Perfect.
Damn good cigar. We'll promote both of you guys on our.
We usually do, though. We usually do.
We always have your pictures one way or another. You've seen what we do.
No.
But any kind of last thoughts on either of you on Washington and what else the average schmo can do?
He said it already.
If you wanna know a little bit more about what happened last week, this coming Thursday, we'll have the Lights On show. Joshua, who is the director of federal affairs for the PCA, is going to be joining us at the show. You guys can ask questions. It will be a very interesting conversation. He's a wealth of knowledge. So
that's on at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock Central Time. 8 o'clock Eastern.
All right.
This upcoming Thursday.
Hopefully we'll get people to chime in and
You know, I want to say something, right? This is it's an election year, and November is right around the corner. Florida and Pennsylvania are two swing states. Florida, I mean, every election you look at it, and it comes down to a couple hundred votes. It's not like thousands of votes. It's a couple hundred.
Small numbers.
And you know, if you look at the premium cigar industry, how many companies are here, and how many, I think our voting power is pretty large in those two states. And we need to make. I think last week the message was made pretty clear to Donald Trump Jr. that come September, you know, we need to see some action. You know, we all want to support a president that supports us.
Right.
It's very simple. And the FDA dilemma comes before the election. So we need to see some action. We can't just, people need to earn our votes. Exactly. We don't just vote red or blue. We don't just vote Republican or Democrat.
No, we don't vote party. We want to see what the person's all about.
They need to support our industry. And you know, the back in January, I remember it was published that the FDA said, oh, premium cigars are their lowest priority. Well, that's great to hear, but everything happening does not make us feel as if though we're the lowest priority, because enforcement is taking place. A court decision came out. I think it was I don't even know what day it is, guys. I apologize. I don't even know what day is today. Tuesday, Wednesday?
Tuesday.
It was
the 24th. Yeah.
Last week, the FDA, you know, the court recommended that they postpone the September date. The FDA said, no, it's going forward. You know, and
they're anxious.
Well, maybe that's a good thing as opposed to keep postponing things. I mean, you rather get an answer, right? You rather know what side of the fence you're on.
Gaby, you're in Florida, so Rubio seems to be a very good pusher for us in general.
Yeah.
What's the word out in Florida with him? Is he pushing hard?
What about Santos? DeSantos. I mean, he's your governor.
Santos is kind of like neutral. Rubio is a strong advocate.
Yeah, he is strong.
But you know what, man? I think in politics, it's all about money and how you know, you gotta. I don't want to talk about this topic because I don't want to make it seem like, you know, we need to buy our way to alleviation. But we're just such a small industry, guys. You know, 0.05% or less of the U.S. enjoys premium cigars. You know, I think if you do a cost benefit analysis, like a good analogy was brought up last week in that, you know, when a cigarette company goes through substantial equivalence testing, of which I think in the past decade, only 5 cigarettes have gone through that process. And I think only 1 has been approved in the past decade.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. But the thing is, when a cigarette gets their product approved, they're making billions and billions of dollars on that one product.
Yeah.
When I produce one of my cigar blends, I'm making 1,000 boxes for the whole year. That's it.
Right.
So, like, you know, when you do a cost benefit analysis of really putting us through similar regulations as big tobacco, it's just not. It's like going to your local diner and treating them like they're P.F. Chang's. It just doesn't work.
I mean, do you think that the larger players, the top 3 or 4, by kind of siding with the FDA in a way, they're basically they can wait it out, right? They can let the smaller companies kind of die by the wayside and just basically gobble up the rest of the marketplace, because even though it's not a large market, it's still more money ultimately in their pocket in the end, right? Mm-hmm. So they still benefit by the smaller guys falling to the wayside. So there's no impetus for them to change their view, right? Why should they change? Because in the end, if you go out of business, or they'll just buy you on your way out and then put out your line of cigars, right? I mean, that's their probably thought, because they're the big guy. They're the bully.
Yeah, that's a reality.
This is a very, very sensitive subject, which I was advised not to comment.
Right.
You notice, Luciano, you notice I'm sitting back with my arms crossed.
Frank, you're causing trouble in Florida. Stop.
I'm just saying that there's bullies out there. I don't know, just put it out there.
More of that out of you, Frank, and I'm going to have to mute you.
Listen, a no comment is a comment.
Well, listen, guys, I'm going to give you both your phone numbers so you two guys could talk. And I think you got a lot that you guys could talk about since you're on the same page. But I want to thank you guys for coming on board. And Luciano, I know you're traveling, so thank you for taking time to join us.
Yeah, thank you.
I wish you safe travels.
Pleasure.
I'll definitely talk to you, both of you, very soon, very quickly.
Thank you.
And we want to get you back on together as a team, if possible, if not one by one. And again, continue the update because we got to keep pushing. We got 8 weeks to push this narrative. And so whatever you guys want, or there's something going on, please just give me a holler, call. We're going to set you up, get you on, and inform the rest of our audience of what's happening. And thank you both
so
for coming
much,
on,
really.
for your time. I know it's
everything
late
you
there.
do.
And only 3 days to get your votes in for the best of Nicaraguan and best of Honduras.
Yeah.
Yes, vote.
Yes.
Vote and vote multiple times.
Yeah. Vote early and vote often. It's the Chicago way.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Vote early and vote often.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you
Thank you
so much,
so
guys.
much.
Thank
I
you.
do want to say thank you because the past
Happy
couple
4th
of
of
weeks,
July to both of you.
Yes. Happy 4th.
Yeah, happy
Thank
4th. The past 2 weeks we've been really active, and I think we have to maintain this activity level until the last day. We cannot. We can't take our foot off the pedal right now.
Nope.
We're at the last 2 months. I think the voice of reason will prevail.
We're talking about Washington,
yeah. I think the voice of reason will prevail. I think
I believe it.
Yeah, I'm honestly, I sleep very well at night because I drink a lot, and I'm just kidding.
So do we.
But it's good. The fact that every day we're putting our 100% is what allows me to go to bed at night, knowing that I did everything I could, so that whatever happens, but I have faith that the voice of reason will prevail. So,
yes, definitely.
You're open to God's ears, that's for sure. To Washington.
It was a pleasure to meet you, Luciano. Thank you, man.
Nice to meet you too, Gaby.
Thanks,
You
Luciano.
guys take care.
Thank you.
Take care.
Talk to you soon. Good luck tomorrow with the letter.
Folks, you heard two of the specialists, two of our friends, two people who have their pedal to the metal and their hearts are on the pulse here, man. They're doing what they
are
can.
The pulse.
Yeah.
And for those who have listened, please go to those sites that Luciano is talking about. Talk to your local politicians.
Get involved, man. It's the only way we're going to save this.
And we all have to do it. We just not these two guys and our small handful.
Yep.
We all. This is our community, and
you like smoking.
It's not a big community.
Get
right.
Involved, man.
And for those that are looking, those links are posted on our Facebook page right now as we speak, and I have been diligently posting them into the comments along through tonight as well too. So there are ways to find that information. I've made it available for everyone to find. So
thank you, Kyle, for that. I haven't seen that because I've still got the watch party side going. But folks, I know we're running over, so we are going to make this a quick stump to chew. Very quick, Frank. We're going to have to cut a little bit of your time.
Make it a quickie.
Go ahead. This is for another fight. Tim Gary, who just had to leave, unfortunately, had a family situation to get to.
That's a nice
you want
pipe.
to describe the pipe?
Very
Bob?
nice pipe, yeah.
Is that Algerian or?
No. It's nice smooth briar.
Okay.
On the lighter side of brown tone. It's a billiard.
Nice.
Nice thick bowl, I'll tell you. This should smoke very.
It's got
cool.
good depth.
Nice.
Good depth. Yes.
Yeah, very good. I don't know. At least, about an inch and a half in depth, maybe more.
But you know what? I got to hold on. I'm sorry. Tim just left, and I really hated to do that. But we talked about this on a show last week, guys.
Yeah, show him what he just brought over.
Tim and Kyle, we talked about this also. We got 5 packets here that Tim Garrity put together for our military personnel overseas.
Awesome.
We got a pipe. We got
pipe tobacco, matches, pipe cleaners.
Nice. Yeah. Okay.
We got 5 already to start with. So please donate to our red, white, and blue, our military family. We are taking this. Go on our Facebook page and PM us. We'll get the information to get this to me, and we'll put it in a nice box. We got Jeremy Feliciano.
I've got a couple of pouches for you too, Ronnie. So
all right, that's fantastic. As you can see, folks, we're here to help our military overseas. This is one of the ways that we can do it. Tim has already put 5 packages together. We're going to get a nice box for these guys and send that off. So please take it seriously. Let's help. No matter what you got.
Yeah.
Send it to us. All right. If you want to send cigars, send cigars. We'll keep it in the humidor, and we will package that off for the men and women wearing our beautiful red.
And
white.
Don't mean to cut you off, Ronnie, but let's get this Stump the Chooch going. Let's go. Let's get the trivia.
Listen, it's a beautiful pipe. In history. Here we are. I love that pipe. I'm not giving it away tonight, though.
It's a beautiful pipe, man.
Not coming that easily.
There you go.
On this day in history, it could have been yesterday, it might be tomorrow, but someday close to this day.
Sometime this month.
This month, we're close. Back in 1559.
Whoa.
This king of France is seriously injured in a jousting match against Gabriel de Montgomery. Which king? 1559.
Merlin.
Philippe.
Merlin. It was the wizard Merlin.
Wasn't it Louis Philippe? I think it was called, right?
Henry II.
King.
Okay.
Nice.
That's one chooch down. You know, what can I do? You guys
Next do it for us, folks, so you get the hinge of it. And the third one, when he says it's for you folks, make sure you put it in Facebook very quickly. Kyle will be looking at the Facebook responses.
We got 4 seconds tonight.
Go for it. Second one for us.
On this date in history, in 1908, at 41 years old, this Hall of Fame pitcher becomes the oldest player to record a 3rd career no-hitter.
Cy Young. I don't know. Let's see.
There we go. Cy Young. Look around.
Hey.
Go pitcher needed, brother.
Hey.
There we go. That's good.
Not bad, huh?
No, not bad. Not bad. Maybe Bob might get this one. Okay, on this date in history, 1953, Chevrolet releases its first
Corvette.
Oh, look at this, Bob. You're sleeping. Look,
I was waiting for you to finish.
You don't have to. It's right there, man.
Ronnie's all over this. Oh, boy. Bob,
and it wasn't a V8.
You're disappointing me tonight.
All right. For you folks. This is for the folks. This is for the
This
Kyle,
is
check that Facebook.
We got this.
All right.
There's the pipe.
Let me get the right one because I almost gave this one away last time. So let me. I like that. I do like that.
Nice. Good pipe. That's a good pipe.
It is really nice. Pretty pipe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. On this day in history in 1956, this person's political testament from 1923 is published in Moscow.
Ooh.
In 1956, this political testament is actually published in Moscow.
Play the tune there, Kyle. You got 1 minute, folks.
I figured I'd throw this out with all the crazy things that are happening here. I'll go back.
That's not right. Say it again, Frank.
Okay, back in 1956, on this day in history, this politics testament dating back from 1923 is published in Moscow.
Moscow. What do we got? We have Andre saying Stalin, I think.
Stalin.
No, he's wrong.
No, it would be an American.
Yeah, it's published in Moscow, Ron. I don't know too many Americans who are publishing in Moscow. Just a hint, folks.
But it's the American politician.
Ronnie's good with the sports questions.
Hey, I'm sorry, then I misunderstood. I thought it was a politician in 1923 here in America.
No. 1956. This political testament from 1923 is published in Moscow.
Andre says Trotsky.
No, he's wrong again. Andre wants a pipe. Listen, what pipes are being given out tonight? Sorry, folks. People better do some history, reviewing their history. I'll give you a hint. He may have played his person's name may have played in a very popular band called Beatles.
What was that, Frank? You're breaking up a little bit.
All right. This person's name also appears in part of a very important band called the Beatles.
Ooh.
What are you people out of your minds? What is going on?
Nothing.
Well, we're running out of time, man.
Vladimir Lenin.
Lenin, yeah.
Lenin, guys. He's a Marxist, a revolutionary Soviet leader.
Nobody got it.
Andre said Lenin like half a second before you said it.
No, sorry. Sorry, he does not know why.
He did all three of the leaders there.
Yeah, exactly. He got a little too late with Lenin. Of course, he kept going until he got it right, but he was late. Andre, try again next week.
Wow. Holy moly.
I'm a stickler with this, man. It's all about time. You know, I spend a lot of time figuring this out.
All right, folks.
Well, Stump
It's
the
been a
Chooch once
great
again
night.
with Cousin Frank, and we truly appreciate all your support and checking in with us. Thank you. I hope you learned a lot tonight. Keep posting Facebook. Kyle is just put a bunch of stuff on our page, and we are going to continue doing that for the next 8 weeks. So till next time, we all wish you happy 4th of July, safe and sound. Be careful, and we'll see you next week.
And remember, don't be a chooch.
Don't be a chooch.
Don't be a chooch. Good night, everybody.
Good night.